So it's rendering right now. I'm just rendering the foreground of Pat and Phil, or Phil and Pat, chatting on the benches. I'll let that go render while I sort of reminisce about how my little project went. So, learnt many things on this, how to do pin bones, which was pretty interesting. I only found out very recently that I can't puppet with the pin bones. So that was a bit unfortunate, and there must be a way of doing it, of recording the movement. So Moho has this ability to record user input on layers, so you can actually puppeteer stuff. And the whole point of this was this is supposed to be really sort of rough and ready, dirty, almost like South Park style animation, very simple and straightforward. And it just sort of got more and more ambitious as it went along. So the puppets initially were, or the characters initially were, very, very different design. But when I did the voices, especially of this guy, did the voice of this guy, I realised that I needed to go back literally to the drawing board and redo it. And I'm really glad I did, because I really like his design. I have skimped. I'm not entirely happy. I've learned a lot from this. I'm going to go back and redo things. I'll probably redo the rig completely. I do like the design. I like the way he talks. I like the way it's all come together. If I didn't have this deadline, I might just scrapped it and start it again. But I think getting stuff out is more important than getting it 100% polished, because there's other stories that I can come back to and tell. Maybe even at some point I can come back and retell this. But the design I like. It's got, realised now this morning that it's got a very sort of Tintin look to it, Hergé sort of look to it, which was not mine. I wasn't consciously doing it, but I guess the influence is there. And yeah, as I said, I really had fun doing the mouse. Originally I was just going to make this part of the jaw I move up and down as like a puppet, and that was fine, but I didn't think I was getting the expression I really needed, because this is a real dialogue heavy piece and he gets more animated the more he talks. So I really wanted to put a bit of effort into that, and so I hand animated all the mouth parts. I didn't even do switch layers. I did every single frame. I animated on 3s and 4s and 2s when necessary, but it was a really good exercise. And towards the end, I got pretty good by my standards for mouth shapes and stuff. So that was good. I'm going to do more of that, because that will keep the practice up. And as I said, I really like the design. I wasn't going to have him too animated to start with, but as I went through the animation process, I realised that he's quite an animated sort of character as a human being, whereas mate Phil is very, very calm. Sorry, Pat is very calm. Phil is very sort of animated, probably from years of doing too much speed. But yeah, and I didn't. The head turns didn't work out correct. I used, for the tilts, I used the perspective tilt in Moho, and that didn't translate very well when I was actually started using the bones. It only seemed to work on one way, not the other. And head turn was fine, but the tilt I was really upset with. And I really felt like this probably deserved, what I would have to do, I think, in future, is actually do turnarounds for these guys, and really think about how, now I've animated them, how I want them to animate in the future. And so I need to do more detailed turnarounds, because I think what I really need to do is actually draw the frames for the turnaround, rather than try and rely on the tools in Moho, because they don't, the squash and the stretch and the manipulation, the turn was fine, but the tilt wasn't very good, and I really wasn't getting the perspective. And I think I need to spend a bit more time understanding the perspective within Moho and working it. And also the other thing was the pin bones, which looked really good on the arms. I ended up not really animating too much, It was great with his hands just resting on his knees, you'll see, but for a gesticulation it wasn't good because I couldn't puppeteer. And what I'm trying to do is work on a process which is like part animation and part puppeteering, you know. It's like part to speed up the process. I want to use the tools that Moho have, and the fact that pin bones don't work with the puppeteering tool is a bit of a concern. And also I found them, well, really nice for shortening, and they look really nice. I did find them a little bit too restrictive in the actual animation side of it itself. I actually preferred using the bones, and I could get similar results, not quite as nice, similar results using the bones as I could with using the pin bones, you know, the regular IK bones. So, you know, lessons learned, things to do. I think Moho would be great as actually a finishing tool. It's kind of weird, the more I do 2D, the more I want to actually go and do traditional frame by frame animation, because I really enjoyed the simplicity of that. But yeah, look, they're supposed to be rough and ready looking characters. They turned out a lot more involved than how they started off, and they developed their personality along the way. And next time these guys come to the screens, I think I'm going to go back and do some more work on the puppets, but that's enough for now. It's rendering. I've got to composite everything together, put the background, put them on the park bench, put the music, put the sound effects back on. I mean, it's a very short, sweet conversation, but you know, it's a start, and I really enjoyed doing this, and I like the design of the characters. I have noticed one thing though, that somewhere along the line I was using a big thick rough like pencil line on here, and on Pat I used a smooth line, very sort of thin, sort of mark light. So there's a different style between the two. They're sort of similar, but they're also very dissimilar as well, and this has a much more, yeah, either I sort of lean into it and do sort of like a Smiling Friends thing where they are very distinct stylistically from each other, so the drawing styles very differently, or I merge them together, because I do like this sort of Tintin Hergé sort of look. And yeah, I also like the idea of having different animation styles within the same thing. And you know, anyway, this is coming up on my animation channel. This is just a quick note to myself. Yeah, more to come. Oh, you can also see that what I've done, you can see on his shirt there, I haven't corrected that actually, is that I animated actually flipped over to start, like I constructed them this way, and then I animated this way part way through, and I flipped the screen back, and for some reason the screen just looked better how I had it before. Maybe I was looking at the screen for too long, and the puppets seem to work better in this orientation, so that was something to keep in mind as well. But his little label should be on the other side. But you know, it's early days, and I'm very pleased I went back and redid the characters. Much more complicated rig than I've done before. Good exercise actually, and lots of fun, and I'm on schedule, so let's go for a walk, and when I come back it'll be rendered, and I'll composite it and I'll upload them.